Hey losers, I'm Coral. Welcome to my channel. If you're joining me for the first time, I like to read things that are strange and spooky, so if you're into that, welcome to the party. I have to start out with some things here that are a little bit sad, so if you don't want to hear that, it's totally okay for you to skip over into my wrap-up today, my half-month wrap-up. It's a little bit late. I'll get into it, I know, but it's okay if you don't want to hear my sad life shit. So I think for a while I have plenty of stuff that I need to edit anyways. So after this wrap up, I think that I might not film anything new for a little while. Yesterday I had to put Salem down to sleep, and I feel like, honestly, my heart is so broken about it. It's hard to talk about. It's hard to, because it's one thing to do it, and then to be in the aftermath of it also. It just, like, hurts not having him in our space anymore. But I thought he was doing so well. He had a checkup a couple months ago, and except for, like, normal old cat stuff, he's lost a little bit of weight. His appetite has decreased a little bit. He has some, like, buildup on his teeth. He was doing fine as far as they could tell, but of course, like, those checkups aren't running, like, imaging and all this stuff. So anyway, we didn't know, but he had cancer. He had lymphoma, and he really didn't have very many symptoms, except for, I did notice in, like, the last maybe week and a half, he lost some weight again. I was in the process of switching his food over to something that I thought maybe would be more appetizing to him. And then this last week on Wednesday, Lovie was petting him. He was on her bed, and she was like, "Oh, your belly feels plumpy." And we were kind of like, "Oh, good job, Salem, you're eating your food." But then the next day it was, like, swollen, and so I thought maybe he was constipated, and I decided to, shut him in my room so I can monitor all of his bathroom activity. And he didn't, like, go to the bathroom at all. So I brought him into the emergency vet on Friday, and that's when, they did imaging and blood work, and we found out that he had lymphoma, and the swelling in his abdomen was just, like, fluid there. And, at that point there wasn't really anything constructive for them to do for him. So I brought him home, and he got to be with us over the weekend. So I'm glad for that. And I think I could have prolonged it, but I could tell he was just, like, really not feeling good. So yesterday, luckily, our own vet was able to get us in, and we were able to be with him. So he was a really good cat. He was annoying sometimes, of course. It was Salem's world, and we were just living in it, He wanted what he wanted, and he could be very pushy about it. But, like, that's also why I loved him so much. He was so sassy and opinionated, and he had a big personality. So it feels really sad that he's not here with us. And that's the thing about owning pets, I guess. Like, it's bound to happen at some point. Even though he was older, I really thought he had been doing so well. So I feel a little bit blindsided by it. Like, looking at pictures, it's like 3 weeks ago he looked so fine, and then looking at pictures that I took of him yesterday, he is just, like, somehow all of a sudden almost a skeleton with fur on it. Like, how did this happen? It's disturbing and sad. So I haven't been doing a ton of reading this last week. I DNF'd a book because it was just getting way too intense for me, I think, because of, like, all this shit that's going on. So I don't really know what my reading is going to be like, and that's okay. So I will have things to edit and post, luckily, because I'm behind on that, like always. But I'll do this wrap up. I might do one at the end of the month. I don't know. I might not. It is really close to the end of the month anyway, so I don't know. I don't know what exactly my schedule will be like in the next couple weeks, but yeah, I just thank you guys for listening to that if you did, and thank you for appreciating my cats as much as I do, and if any of you have said kind words to me on like Instagram, I really appreciate it. He was just he was a really good friend to me for many years, and he was with me through like all my adult experiences up until this point, so it's really hard not having him here with me anymore. Okay, and now we're not going to talk about it anymore because it's gonna make me too sad. So on to my wrap-up stats. In total for this month, I read 7 books, and that does not include one that I have read a little bit of. I think I'm just like gonna put it away for now and maybe come back to it at another point, because it's like I don't not like it. It's just that reading the things here, I'll just fucking hold it up. It's Violent Faculties by Charlene Elsby, and like having my cat dying and reading about people being hurt at the same time with this really clinical, off-putting narrative, it was like honestly making me feel sick to my stomach. So I might get back to it at some point, but now is not the time for me to read this. So in total I read 2,248 pages, which is about 132 pages per day. The oldest book I read so far this month was published in 1962, and the most recent are a couple of 2025 books that I ended up picking up. I read 2 horror books, 2 literary fiction books, 2 fantasy books, and a dystopian book. As far as series, I read a book that was in a series this month, and it's the first book, so like I'm caught up with the series. Finally, as far as the Read What You Own challenge for this first part of the month, I've read 4 books that count towards that, which brings my total, I believe, to 24. So if the total is 24, I have 76 books left. First, a book that I don't have a physical copy of. This is Immaculate Conception by Ling Huang. This is a new release. I really loved her book Natural Beauty, and you know what? This one was super good as well. I listened to it on audio, and it's not really a horror book, but some of the things that happens to a character in this is certainly like horrifying to think about. This is a lot about like art, and art that pushes the boundaries. It takes place in a world that's not quite like ours, and we're following the friendship between 2 artists who are both really intelligent and creative people, but one of them feels really inferior to the other, and that causes her to make decisions that were very uncomfortable. It's like one of those books where someone's really fucking up the whole time and you're like, please stop what you're doing. Oh my god, like it was hard to be in that character's headspace and see what she was doing. But it was a really great book. I really enjoyed it, and I really need to pick up a copy of both that and Natural Beauty, because they're both so good. Then, published in 1962, I read A Clockwork Orange by Anthony Burgess. This was my book this month. That was the book I've owned for the longest on a shelf. I really liked this. It was hard to get into at first. The character in this, Alex, is 15, I think. So he's a teenager, and him and his friends talk in this like slang of the teenagers in this world, which is like, it's kind of almost like an alternate reality of our world on a different timeline, you know? and he is kind of like, I mean, he is a delinquent. He's out committing crimes. He's got this like gang of friends, and they're out there committing crimes until he is caught and undergoes an experimental treatment to reform him. It's really interesting. I really enjoy how this ends. There's like a introduction by the author, a foreword or preface or something, about how when he tried to publish this book in America, they didn't want the final chapter in it. So for a long time, it was this book without the final chapter. And I really think that I really enjoy the final chapter. It kind of puts a strange spin on it that I don't want to give away, but it's, I don't know, it's almost a little bit disturbing. Alex's final thoughts in this chapter. I really enjoyed this. I would recommend it. It's worth like kind of fighting through the first chapter or two, trying to figure out what everything means. Like, it's not totally impossible to understand. It's just slang, you know? So it's weird, but I think you do end up getting the gist of it, and then it was even fun to kind of talk like that for a few days afterwards. So I liked that book a lot. Actually, I really liked like all the books I read except for one, and one that's kind of borderline like, but I liked but have some complaints. But that's not this one. This is Last Days by Brian Evenson. This was published in 2009, and this was such a weird book. It was like, at no point could I have predicted what was gonna happen on the next page. This is about Klein. He used to be a detective and now he is no longer. He was attacked by a man and lost a hand. And now these two men keep kind of like harassing him to help this cult basically investigate a crime, if there even is a crime. It's so strange. I wish I could talk more in length about this, but I don't. Like, this is really such an experience. I think it would rob people of that experience if I were to talk about it too much. But Klein is just, I really liked him as a character. He's kind of aloof, and it's interesting because these totally bananas things are happening and he's forced to do bananas things, but he's just like, he just like takes it as it comes, you know, kind of a guy. It's really interesting. This group of people he's investigating this crime for, they're so fucking weird, and the way that they see things is so fucking weird, and I just really would recommend this. It's strange, but it's not like, it's not disturbing, I would say. It's just weird and different, but like in a really good way. I really like this. I also read An Academy for Liars by Alexis Henderson. This was published last year. This is an Evernight edition of this book, and there are things I liked about this and things that I didn't. This is about a 20-something-year-old woman named Lennon who is having a hard time in her life. She gets this weird call saying that her application for this college, Drayton, has been accepted. And she's like, I didn't apply to college. And they're like, well, come here and, you know, do your interview. So she does, and she's eventually accepted into the school that she didn't apply for. And it's kind of a magic school. It's for people who can persuade things, other people, matter, etc., with their minds. So it's kind of weird the way that the author like wrote this kind of form of magic. I liked that part of it. But what I didn't like is Lennon. She's just like so boring, especially compared to everybody else. She's just like making these bad decisions, even when it's like the people around her are calling on her to grow, and she just doesn't. And I didn't like that. So I appreciated the ending. This setting is really cool. I think what I just couldn't get past, and it's like my enjoyment of this book was great. Like, I really sped through this as short chapters. It kept me really engaged. I wanted to know what was going to happen next, but like, oh, this could have been so much better if the main character had been different. So that's kind of a bummer, but it is what it is, right? Here the sprayed edges are very cool. And a Ouroboros on the back. And yeah, I mean, what can you do? Another 2024 book that I didn't love, Good Happy Girl by Marissa Higgins. This is like a messy girl book, right? Following Helen, who has some problems, and she likes to get into relationships with consenting, of course, couples, lesbian couples, and she likes to be like their third wheel. But she also just like does things on purpose to make people upset with her. And yeah, like, I don't know. At the end of it, I just felt like, what's the point? What was the point of any of this? It was just kind of to talk about a girl who like thinks about peeing herself all the time. I don't know. It wasn't bad, but it was like, I don't know. I guess what was the point? I have no idea. Another book I did like, however, is When the Wolf Comes Home by Nat Cassidy. This was published just a few months ago, and everyone was talking about it, which sometimes makes me a little bit suspicious, but I did end up really liking it. I liked this. I like this a lot. I like this more than 70 or 80% of the books that I read. It just like wasn't a perfect book in my eyes, I think, but it was a lot of fun. This is about Jess. She is living in LA trying to break out into acting, and it's not really having much luck. She comes home from a late shift at a grimy diner to find a little boy hiding in the bushes outside of her apartment building. And when she rescues this boy, he says his dad's coming after him. But what comes after him is like this scary, huge, scary, like animal creature. And like Jess immediately has to run for it. And she decides to bring this little boy with her. And so it's like a cat and mouse book, kind of where they're on a journey, but not in a way I didn't like. I think what I didn't like is that it was just kind of predictable almost immediately. It's almost like it seems more clever. It wants to seem more clever than it is, and I don't mean that in like a derogatory way. It's just like, that's the way it's written, and you're like, but I already know this, right? You don't have to keep playing coy with me about it. So I don't know, it was fun and could be a movie, like for sure. And Jess was like a pretty good character, and I really liked the nuance with how she reacted to and felt about this little boy and things like that. It just felt all very real, despite having things that are not real in our life, at least, chasing after her. Okay, finally, and the book I loved the most this month is The Devils by Joe Abercrombie. This is also a new release. It came out in May, and oh my god, I loved this book so much. And this is a book where I read it and I'm like, thank God there's a sequel, because I mean, I knew that I liked Joe Abercrombie's writing, right? Which is why I wanted to pick this up. But also, it's like the setting is so much fun. It is medieval and religious. Less medieval. I don't know. What time period would you say this is? It's like nearly medieval, but not quite. And it's all about this group of misfits having to come together. They're bound to the Pope, and the Pope wants them to help this young girl named Alex get to her rightful place as like the queen. You know, they're people who are people and creatures that have committed crimes against like the church. So they, you know, they're criminals, they're horrible creatures, but are they really? It's so much fun. I fucking love the characters in this so much. I had been reading this out loud to Zach, but like reading very, very slowly. So slowly that I was like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna read this on my own. So I am going to continue reading it to him. And I don't even feel like I'm gonna be bored by that, because this book is just so much fun. And it's gory and creepy at parts. It has great fantasy. It's almost like Scott Pilgrim, where they have to defeat a certain number of angry relatives that keep popping up. I would definitely recommend this. Even if you're not really a fantasy reader, I feel like this is not super heavy fantasy, more like historical fiction, fantasy horror. It's really good though. I love this so much. There's illustrations in it, in particular these in the front end pages are like so gorgeous. Oh my god. Just want to tattoo this book, all the words on my body. Okay, so that's what I've been up to the last couple weeks. I am in the middle of something that I'm enjoying right now, The Boatman's Daughter by Andy Davidson. So I'll just keep plucking away at that. And maybe I'll talk to you at the end of the month. I'm not really sure what my next couple weeks are going to be like. So maybe I will, maybe I won't. But either way, I do have lots of stuff that I need to edit. So I am going to do that. Thank you so much for watching. If you listen to my sad stuff up at the front, thank you. I really appreciate it. And I guess that's it. So kiss your cats. Tell them I love them. And thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.